Hi, Nintendo fans. The following video you probably won't like, but it is true. But hopefully you'll learn some stuff and you'll stop worrying about all the misinformation that you're hearing about Nintendo Switch 2 prices and the game prices. Also, parents, we're going to talk about the camera because you guys asked me a ton of questions about the Switch 2 camera and game chat, and we're going to be addressing those. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. And if you're somehow magically found this Shadowban channel, subscribe anyway. So let's dive into this. Both Nintendo of America's president, Doug Bowser, and Bill Trennan, who used to be from Treehouse, is now vice president, I think. But he sat down with IGN, and both executives at Nintendo of America had a lot to say that people seem to completely miss out on. So I'm going to fill you in, tell you the good, the bad, and, well, the stuff that no one really knows what's going on. First and foremost, Nintendo announced that the $80 price point is not always going to happen. So people running with the idea that Nintendo Switch 2 games are always going to be $79.99, that's not true. Nintendo will look at the value of the game based on whatever it has in it and mark it based on that quality. So some games will be $69.99, some games will be $79, and some games will be $59. So it's going to go all over the place. And you can see Nintendo's pricing based on the different games on their website. It shows you the price of Kirby, of Donkey Kong, of Mario Kart, and of course the Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom stuff, as well as their third parties. So pretty much they're going back to how they did pricing on the Super Nintendo. So in the 90s, the pricing for the Super Nintendo was usually about $10 more than Genesis, but it went all over the place. Not every game was $59, not every game was $69, and not every game was $79. It all depended. And also, unfortunately, game developers also have this ability with Nintendo Switch 2 to market their games accordingly as well. So hopefully we won't see any higher games than $79.99, but nobody really knows. Doug Bowser was very clear about what's going on with the pricing, and at least some people can maybe calm down just a little bit about it. Now, again, I think $80 for a game is a bit too steep. I think that Nintendo should be following what PlayStation is doing, with only going $10 above their $59, so they went $69.99. I think going all the way up to $80 is a problem because, as I said before, monkey see, monkey do. Other developers see Nintendo doing that, it's going to give them a leeway to also do that, which is going to cause a big, squeeze on everybody's wallets. And even people overseas, you guys have it way worse than us. Although with the tariffs, we don't know what the Nintendo Switch final price is going to be. But as of right now, there's a lot of good things that are happening because of that. And I don't really follow politics very much. I just saw a big thing on Twitter saying that stuff between Vietnam and Cambodia and places where Nintendo is actually manufacturing the system, the tariffs are actually disappearing. No word on China and Japan yet, but things look like they're improving in a rapid way. So maybe by June everything will, even out, but who knows? Right now the system is still $449 and $500 if you get it with the Mario Kart game. So there you go. That's how the whole pricing of games work. Now, speaking of pricing of games, let's talk about the enhanced games, or as I like to call them, the Switch 1 ports. So anyway, the Switch 1 ports are in a very unique area right now. They will be priced all over the place. But if you already own the game and you don't have the Nintendo expansion pass or their membership program, whatever you want to call it, if you don't have the expansion pass for at least Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, you are looking at a upgrade $9.99. For the Kirby expansion, the new game that you already played on Nintendo Switch, will have to pay $20, $19.99. Now, that's better than paying for the full game, and if you look at prices compared to PlayStation, how they charge for upscaling and stuff like that, well, then there you go. That's not bad. Now, we don't know what the price for other Switch-enhanced games. Right now, Nintendo is only talking about the two Zelda games and the Kirby game because those are coming around pretty quickly. Zelda, of course, on release day for both Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and Kirby, I believe, is in July. So it kind of makes sense that they would be doing that. Now, if you do not have the Switch 1 versions of the game, and Nintendo cannot find your game on your Switch 1 when you transfer stuff over, then you will have to pay the amount that they want you to, which is, I believe, $69.99 for Breath of the Wild and $79.99 for Tears of the Kingdom. But again, If you've already had those games and you have the expansion pass, or you have, the Switch game on your system and you don't have the pay for online thing, then it will be very affordable for you. So even $20 for upgrading a game that came out like 3 years ago is not that bad. So Nintendo is thinking of their, consumers, which is good to some extent. Now, a lot of you were asking in the comments, why is the Switch 2 so expensive? What is going on? So in order to talk about the Switch 2, we're going to have to do a little history lesson. So strap in, get, some popcorn or whatever. We're going back in time. So anyway, as we take our DeLorean back to the, not future, but back to the 2000s, you need to understand that Nintendo has always tried to be very affordable for everyone around the world. In order to do that, they would cut corners with technology. When the Game Boy SP came out, there was a type of screen that was used for that system. And it was, a nice-looking LCD or whatever computer screen. I don't really know technical stuff. I just know that they did this, having spoken to Nintendo myself. I was actually a Nintendo brand ambassador before it was cool. I started working with Nintendo on YouTube in 2011. So I was doing stuff with the Wii and the DS, and, so we were like an approved content creator / publication. But that's besides the point. So someone told me a long time ago, the Nintendo DS, the top screen used the Game Boy Advance SP screen for the top. The bottom screen used a special touch screen. Now, had Nintendo and Iwata's team used two of those expensive touchscreens, the Nintendo DS would have been a lot more expensive than it was. In order to keep things affordable, they had to go through and basically use the old technology, which was the Game Boy Advance screens, at the top of the Nintendo DS. And that made it, a more cost-effective system. It was very affordable, and Nintendo could offer it for the price that it was. The only really expensive part of the hardware was the way that it could play 3D games, and of course its touchscreen, which was very expensive at the time. And Nintendo would do this all the time. The Wii was a companion system. It wasn't a system that was supposed to compete with the PS2 or the Dreamcast like the GameCube was. The GameCube was cutting-edge technology that was actually pretty expensive for its day. Developers were on board with it in the beginning until the small discs was a gimmick that made them, bow out. But the system was arguably more powerful than the PS2. The problem is it lost that console war because a lot of people didn't have the memory and the storage space they needed to create the games that they wanted to. It was a great system that was targeting college kids, people my age back then, and it just didn't work. PS2 was just a monster, and also Xbox came into the market when Dreamcast was on the way out, and Xbox got a huge part of Nintendo's share of the market, and nobody, even combined, they couldn't catch Sony's PS2. But GameCube was cutting-edge technology. The Wii, as Reggie Fils-Aimé said, it was a companion system that you would get to have next to your PlayStation or Xbox. Nintendo was about making fun experiences, and they weren't there to compete with the big dogs. They had their own marketing strategy, which worked because PlayStation 3 did not sell anywhere near as many as the Wii, and neither did the Xbox 360. Just saying. And then Nintendo, they were trying to play catch-up again with the Wii U. They made a more powerful system. It was very developer-friendly, and what killed that system was the name. Nintendo Switch has sold 154 million worldwide, and according to Doug Bowser, out of that number, 120 million Switch owners around the world are still active. And in the last year alone, that's who Nintendo is trying to market the Switch 2 to, is apparently they can tell when all of us are using our Switches. Like right now to use this footage, my Switch is on. That's kind of creepy, actually. So thanks, Bowser, for creeping me out. But so now you understand what happened in the past. Nintendo would, try to incorporate lesser technology to keep the system affordable and focus on new innovative experiences that were different than their competitors. The problem with Switch 2 is they're going back to the GameCube method. And what do I mean by that? Well, it's got cutting-edge hardware, it's got 120 frames per second, it's got not only 4K, but HDR, 1080p when it's in the palm of your hands, 4K HDR, whatchamacallit, when it's docked, built-in fan, it has all these, camera options, microphones, all these additional whatchamacallits put into the system makes it more expensive. It's not necessarily Nintendo's being greedy. Nintendo is going through and all the technology that they've stuffed into this thing, which if it can run Elden Ring the way that I've heard it can run from people in the industry, that's pretty impressive. The only thing that doesn't look very good is the hair dynamics, and who really cares about that when you're running around killing monsters? That's insane. 120 frames per second on the television, and then 60 frames per second in the palm of your hand at HDR is just nuts with Elden Ring. And other games, you know, people told me Cyberpunk is amazing on the Switch too. People are already talking about Grand Theft Auto's newest game somehow ending up on the Switch too. I doubt that, because we didn't see Monster Hunter Wilds on the Switch too. I'm just saying, I'm a big Monster Hunter fan, so kind of surprised that didn't get announced. But the hardware, as you can tell, it's very, very powerful. And the problem with more power, Tim Allen, is it's going to be more expensive. And this is not a, we'll say, consumer-friendly system compared to the Switch and compared to the Wii and the Nintendo DS. Nintendo is chasing a different demographic than they normally do, and that's why, based on all the manufacturing, based on all the technology and keeping that technology cool, there's built-in fans, all this other stuff. I mean, that's going to keep raising the price. And now with the whole tariff thing, you know, it's going to be even more expensive. I guess probably about $50 more. But we can always talk about that in a later video. If you have more questions about the Switch, you can ask me in the comments section below. If I'm not sleeping, I sleep during the day. Let's talk about the last topic, which is the game share, which we'll probably have a more extensive video later on, and of course the camera. So a lot of parents were asking in the comments, like, I'm not comfortable with my kid getting the Nintendo Switch 2 and having the camera. And it's like, well, okay, I totally get that. Nintendo has incorporated stuff with the parent app thing, parental app for the Nintendo Switch. It's been expanded for the Switch 2. And now you have the ability to actually program how much time your kid plays the game. With the camera option, you can approve what people he, you know, interacts with through voice chat and video chat. So if you think somebody's a creep, or, you know, you don't know who this person is in their friend group, you actually have the power in the palm of your hand on your phone to control what your child does. And I actually encourage parents to be a part of your child's life. My dad played video games with me when I was a kid, and I turned out fine. It's important for you to, as a parent, invest in what your kids want to do so they grow up to be upstanding members of society instead of, you know, letting TV and video games raise your kids. But you get what I'm saying. You can actually be more of an active part of your kid's life through gaming without having to become a gamer yourself. So Nintendo has given you that option. I would totally use it. As well as, you know, if you don't want your kids to be able to use the camera, I mean, you can decide that. You get to, you know, control it. The power is literally yours in the palm of your hand. And one last thing that we're going to talk about, because I'm sure people want to know more about, the game share. Now, the game share information is still very limited. I've been looking around trying to grab every little morsel of information that I can, and the only thing that I found is pretty much game share is the same thing that was on Nintendo DS. A show of hands here, who remembers what the Nintendo DS game share did? Anybody? You? Okay, great. That's awesome. Appreciate that. So yeah, it's more or less the same thing. So parents worried about, you know, having to buy duplicate copies of, miraculously, if you can even get 2 Switches, God bless you. Hopefully don't become a scalper. But you only have to get 1 copy of the game, and then you can share it through your family network. And if it's multiplayer, then of course, you know, all the kids in your house that have a Switch, hopefully only 2, then you can, you know, have them play together without it being a big ouchie on your wallet. And like I said, more information is going to be out about all that stuff. Right now, Nintendo's trying to figure out the whole price situation, where that's going to go. I'm probably going to say it's going to be either $59.99 more, or it could end up being $60 more. We don't know. Or it might not change at all, because the whole tariff war could be over in the next week or 2. We don't know. I don't know. But anyway, people, hopefully this video was helpful for you. If you enjoyed the content, make sure you subscribe. Going to try to do more update videos about what's going on with Switch 2 and give people as much info as possible, because there's a lot of misinformation going around about this system, and I thought I would just kind of, like, you know, grab the simple stuff I can and kind of explain it in a way that hopefully people understand and doesn't get too crazy. But there you go. I'll see you guys live later today. We're currently doing a Road to Mario Kart World. We're playing the Game Boy Advance game right now. We're going to be tackling 100 cc's, which is going to be nasty, but yeah, that's happening. And then, of course, we got more Xenoblade later tonight. But if you have a particular topic you would like to see on Nintendo Switch 2, let me know in the comment section below. And again, this spicy topic title was just to entice people to come in, and hopefully they leave pretty calm and not ready to burn the channel down. Okay? All right, guys. God bless. Happy gaming. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be seeing you soon.